On one side of the room, there are illicit guns. On the other side, there are stashes of money. On the third side, there are drugs. And on the fourth side, there are antiquities. It's the same problem. And antiquities and cultural property in general is just a facet of large-scale criminal activity.
But the pleasure of seeing them in person, it was completely something different. They have been trafficked over time. It was not like all at the same time, or many people told me that this is one of their most favorite pieces because of the depiction.
There are, countless police and other organizations trying to combat that trade in drugs, in armaments, etc. There are at the moment 3 people in the UK police system, in the Metropolitan Police, who deal with the theft and trade in illicit cultural property. Illicit markets, the biggest markets have traditionally been London and various centres in the United States. That's expanding. There are now markets in the Far East, in China and elsewhere, and also in South America, and to some extent in the Gulf. So it's a trade, it's a problem that is growing in terms of market, and therefore the knock-on effect of that is the source countries get targeted more frequently. There has been an increase in the last few years of groups looting and stealing material for resale for potentially criminal or terrorist activity to fund that. And there are lots of claimed ideas about how much that costs. Actually, nobody knows. You would need ISIS and the Taliban to fill in tax returns on that, which is not going to happen very soon. There are estimates from the few millions to the tens, hundreds of millions about the annual cost of illicit antiquities and illicit trafficking. There are those objects that are in museums that we know about. We have lists of those, and many of those may be at risk if the Taliban follow through with the sort of thing that they did in the past, as opposed to what they are claiming they will do at the moment. Then there are the material out in the rural areas, in the archaeological sites, on buildings, which again may be targeted by the Taliban or their associates for being, in their terms, un-Islamic and against their interpretation of Islam. So we are very worried about the below ground archaeological sites, because there we have no idea what they will find and what they will excavate and what they will either destroy or most likely put onto the illicit trade in cultural property. And it will only be in 50 years or longer that some of that material will percolate into the known environment. And the problem with that is that it loses what archaeologists call provenance, where it comes from. And where an object comes from, for an archaeologist, trying to piece together the understanding of the past is almost more important than the actual object itself. So there were large amounts of farm produce, olives, lemons, etc., sitting, rotting by the side of the road. The local farmers turned to the only other crop that they could harvest, which was below ground antiquities. They would be paid peanuts, $5, $10, $20 for an object. The middleman would get $500, $1,000 for the same object, and that would then go up the chain to be sold quite often for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands.